Now we're recording. But yeah, the premise of the book is that you leave yourself green lights. It's called, believe it or not,
Yellow Light?
Green Light by Matthew McConaughey. But no, so, you know, preserving a moment for your future self to make it easier, whether that's making the coffee the night before or, in my case, just being very organized so that down the road, I'm setting myself up for success. Part of it is just also limiting creative decision making, you know, like as simple as what am I going to wear tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to get up at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever, and be groggy and not have coffee yet. And then just be like, I guess I'll just throw on a t-shirt and be done with my day when I can take the 10 minutes it takes to lay something out, especially if I'm going somewhere important or doing something, I can, you know, lay that out ahead of time. And I would only do that when we were traveling or we were on the road. And I was sitting there a couple weeks ago when we were in Lansing, Michigan, and I sat there and I was like, why do I only do this when I'm here when I could come home and do this? And you know, the experiment so far has been working really, really well.
Well, yeah, you were talking, and what's interesting is that you were when we were on the trip, you were talking about trying to keep as many of your home-based routine in place, and now you're taking some of the things that became you identified as part of a travel routine, and you know you're kind of bringing them back. And I think those things, all of those things, act as like an anchor.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about kind of that depressive state. You know, I'm a very moody person, so I will exhibit multiple moods throughout a day or a week or whatever. It is what it is. I thoroughly accept it. It was challenging. You know, a decade ago it was a lot more challenging because I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of relationship friction because of that nature. A lot of stuff that you used to have to suffer through, like, you know, be going from one idea to a next idea. Oh, we should do this. Oh no, that's bad now. We should do this, or this is the end of the world, or it isn't. You know, all that stuff still somewhat exists. I just don't act on any of it. That's really the only fundamental difference. But every time. It's really helpful having Ryan around because she's almost like she's good at reminding me how I feel at certain times of the year. Like, you know, she'll say, yeah, remember week of July 4th, you get really depressed.
Yeah.
Then like right now I know I'm also sliding into that place where I'm not at all happy with I'm not all happy with the year. Right and I'm never happy with our performance as a company ever. I'm never, because the things that are good, well, they were good, and celebrating them doesn't really help me at all because I know they're good. So again, that negative personality that I have, I look at the negative things, and then we're in this space where I look back and all I can see is what I didn't accomplish, and I look forward and I see fog. It's like leaving a city that's burning, and ahead of you don't know any of the path. And I know all that will clear, and I'll feel better about it. You know, I just have to give it time.
Yeah.
And that whole idea of, you know, getting through something, and because it's always through it. You know, you can't fight it because it doesn't exist, right? It's not corporeal. It's like this weird thing, but you can get beyond it, and you just have to keep traveling to get beyond it. And that's this time of year is challenging because everyone else tends to stop or slow down, and I'm like, shit, what do I do now? And you know, we'll see. I'm trying to take some time off next week. Whatever, I don't even know what that means.
No, it's a very nebulous thing, because for me, I can misinterpret rest as like the literal, like I need to lay down. And what I try to do is balance it out. My goal, and you know, we're saying this here today on the winter solstice, so by the time this comes out, we're going to be out in probably the new year. So it'll be interesting to see how the next few weeks pan out for us.
I wonder if I'm going to end up when I realize that this is the one we're putting out, if I end up commenting on knowing how I felt then and how I feel now.
That'd be kind of cool. But like, it's an interesting time of year because the tradition, as we were exposed to it, is to stop. And I've developed a couple of practices that I think I can do every single day, so I don't feel as though I'm stopping. You know, like I've been rebuilding a writing routine, and around that writing routine is an hour of writing every day, and I can do that on a Sunday morning. I can do it on a Saturday. It's not as difficult as sitting down and doing a client video project or something else that I have to get into that's really, you know, mentally taxing.
Now, do you write by hand, or do you have a? I mean, obviously, I mean, you're using your hands.
Yeah.
You know, but is it? Do you have a device that isn't connected to the internet? Or are you not? Do you not get sucked into that distraction trap? And you can, you know,
Yeah,
you can open up a computer and write on it?
I don't really. What I'm going to be experimenting with is being a little more transient when I write, but I also like my home writing routine. And, you know, I haven't really even talked to you about this, but I started a Substack, which is going to be an email newsletter, Propelling Thoughts.
All right, so I'm going to assume some people might not know what this is. I will admit I have what is a Substack?
Substack is, think of it like a publishing platform where you can subscribe to the people you like. I follow some of my favorite writers on Substack. And they have a paid side version and they have a free version. And you get subscribers and then a newsletter drops to them however often you write. So if I wrote every day, people would get spammed. I'm not planning on doing that. My writing routine is to build content for a once a week drop. And it's just me, my thoughts, what I'm into, what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, that kind of thing. But the routine is forming as not having a lot of digital distraction, but not also limiting myself to like, I don't have to shut the Wi-Fi off. I don't have to close all these apps. I should be able to just write in Google Doc and not be too bothered. And listening to records is kind of my way of not getting into like the Spotify and then going down that rabbit hole and then getting distracted. Records have two sides and you get up and change it halfway through. So I'm only doing an hour a day and I just sit and, you know, dump my head out. And, you know, my hope is that I can start reaching out to the people I know in my circle and just say, hey, I'm writing this. It's going to come out once a week, you know, clients, friends, otherwise. And, you know, it's my musings on whatever. It's not like it's going to be this, you know, specific topic, you know, that I cover. I might do some in succession, but the reason I chose Substack is that it's just a very easy interface to work with. And all the kind of, it's sort of like Medium in that way where like you have a header image and then you have text and that's it. So it's like a very simple way of doing it. And then of course, as you build a list, it does all the work for you of reaching the people, you know? But that's something that I have to do, to stay busy, because what you experience on the 4th and around the holiday season, that's every Sunday for me. So I love being, one thing I learned about, I think from the trip is how not busy I was and how important it is to keep my mind busy. So my wife, Rachel, has been extremely happy since I came back because I have just been like doing all these things around the house, whether they're art related or whether they're like mechanical. You know, I love small little mechanical projects. Like I took my coffee grinder apart and cleaned it, put new burrs in it, installed it all, like got it calibrated on Saturday afternoon. I love that stuff. Like anything where I have to lay out,
All the pieces,
all the
and everything,
pieces
yeah.
and like get the little brushes. I love taking my watches apart and changing out the bands or adjusting them. I have like the little kit for it. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a build your own watch kit.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
That would be.
That would be
I
fun.
bet you would enjoy the hell out of that.
Yeah, yeah, and so like, I try to keep. There's sort of this. The work we do as a company for the brand and for our clients, and then there's kind of this, like in my head, R&D lab on the side, and I'm always looking for areas where those might intersect. It might not be that. Like I think I mentioned this before, but I was going to take a course on sculpting stone, and the weather was really bad the day I was going to do it. So I said I'm going to come another time. But that's
Is that because you do it outside, or you just? Oh, it was like wet.
it was
winter,
that it was
winter,
that day. I don't know how you experienced last Friday, but I snowblowed 3 times on
Yeah, I
Friday
did
and
twice.
2 times on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, but if you didn't, as soon as this freeze came, it was you would have had a nightmare to deal with.
But what's funny is I'm 3 miles from downtown, and we went downtown on Friday night, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
It's got to be the elevation or something. But anyways, so I didn't go because of that. And the guy was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about canceling it anyways." But that's an example of something I might do that it's not going to have a direct tie-in to what we do for our clients as a digital agency, but it may make for a great metaphor for a future piece of content for us. Or, maybe there is something down the road that even in the realm of 3D modeling where, augmented reality is starting to become more prevalent and 3D models are being built and displayed, that may help me, but I don't necessarily keep that corridor of R&D just things that I can use for the company. I let it be what it is, and then I go back through it and go, oh, that might actually be something we could use or something we could play with. And so it's important that I stay super busy, and I think for you, I've seen that develop as the yard work that you do.
Yeah, which obviously I lose this
Right.
time of year. I don't have it, and so and since the house that I live in is relatively new, there's nothing for me to really work on inside. Okay, there's in our downstairs bathroom, there's what do you call that? A towel holder that I have to patch the hole and re-drill it. Okay, well, no big deal there.
Right.
That's not going to take me forever to do. But there's always something to do in the spring, and that time really, when I don't have work in me, but I still want to do something productive. That's what outside is for. And what is definitely acting, whether it's a good distraction or not, remains to be seen. But ever since I bought that, the Xbox X, I've been playing a lot more video games than I have, and I'm like, is it because I bought it, or is it because we don't have, it's wintertime, and wintertime is indoor time for me? Because if it's, I like going on walks, but if it's 18 degrees and windy out, I'm not doing it. That's too cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, so we'll kind of see how that evolves, and it's new too. So because I just got it a little bit before we, and sometime in November, I think, and so I'm messing with it more, and
What are you playing?
oddly enough, I got this incredibly powerful, system, and I play a freemium game called World of Tanks a lot. So I'm playing that a lot. Over the weekend, I downloaded, I bought Elden Ring. played it for 2.5 hours and said, this is not for me. And here's why. There isn't there's not like a quest log structure.
Yeah.
There's not, so it's not one of those, as I was playing it, I would have invested the time to become good at it. That wasn't really what blocked me. I realized that if I set this down for a week and come back to it, I'm going to be very confused as to where I left off, that's why I like the Fallout series, is because the map is great, the quest log is there. I can come back and within 20 minutes, like, oh, that's what I was doing. Okay, and jump right back into it. Whereas this game, I mean, the combat was tons of fun. There was too much.
It's so open.
It's so I have no problem building a game, and maybe you can't square this circle, right? I'm not a game developer. Building a game that is very focused on your hardcore, kind of heavily committed gamer, right? But I understand not building it for a completely casual gamer, but what about me? I don't mean me as in Jim, but me as I used to game a lot. I don't do it nearly as much, but I do enjoy playing stuff like this, when I can find the time. And they don't cater to that market, and I would imagine that has to be a decent. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it has to be a decent market. I mean, I know you like. I know you can get lost in Skyrim. It's kind of your get lost game of choice that that I'm aware of.
My problem with the games now is that I used to do the same thing. Like around December, we used to have this like running joke, like, gotta set up the Xbox upstairs because it's dad's Xbox time.
I'm gonna be playing this thing for 9 hours straight, baby. Yeah.
And the addiction became as such that I couldn't, like, it would now be January and then it would be February and I'm still playing and I couldn't put it away. I just said, at the end of it all, is it worth it? And I think that's what you're getting at, is that a game like Elden Ring, I think, is meant to be
it's almost an achievement for someone.
It's substantial in the sense that it's a brain tickle that goes way too far, and you really, like, being in that game is part of the definition of who you are, whereas we tend to use video games as a way to unplug.
Yeah, and if I'm using the mental resources that are required of the company, now I literally feel like I'm wasting money playing this game because I don't come out of it refreshed. I come out of it mentally taxed. Like, tracking all of these alchemy systems, and it's like I can't do all of this. Whereas World of Tanks, I like that. I pick one, I get in a fight. The fight lasts 3 or 4 minutes because I'm big surprise. I'm not a patient player, so I just hey diddle straight up the middle. That's what I like to do, and I destroy some stuff, I get destroyed, and I move on to the next one. Whereas, my son, he likes playing super heavy, slow tanks, and he's very meticulous, and because that's he has a hyper meticulous nature. And Lizzie likes playing as artillery because she thinks it's, as she puts it, I like to watch people and then drop the bombs on them. And I like playing fast and medium tanks. So each of us. What's really cool about Xbox, I don't know if you know this, but it has a co-pilot system where everyone can be using their own controller, but everyone's controlling a one-player game.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you don't have to, not that passing a controller back and forth is some great effort, but it really makes it feel like you're playing together, even though it's a one-player game. So
do you pause the game and switch to somebody else, or do people have specific controls that you assign to them that they like? So in other words, like, let's say you're playing Elden Ring.
Yeah.
It's a one-player game.
Yeah.
And you're sitting next to Jack, and you both have controllers, and Jack says, I want to fight this guy.
He just starts playing.
Oh, so all the controllers are live.
Alive.
They're hot, and you just...
Exactly. Yep.
So...
Or Lizzie could be playing, I need help.
Yep.
And then I just start playing, and I take out whatever she's
That's really cool. It's so much easier than going, all right, quick, give the controller to me. Give it to me.
Dude,
I got this.
I think you'll really like doing that with Alice because you
Yeah.
guys will be able to play a game that normally she might not get into because it's too difficult. And it's going to let her kind of do her thing. Like, there are games where traversing the lands and, like, Lizzie loves to pick up stuff and, you know, and I can just let her do that. And then, oh, it's an enemy. All right, I got to deal with this.
Like The Witcher riding a horse for 15 minutes because you can't teleport because you
and
don't
she
have
loves
that
riding the horses,
newly discovered land.
Yeah, she loves playing The Witcher.
The Witcher's cool. I think I'm gonna check the provenance of that phrase to make sure we're not getting ourselves in any trouble. But this podcast is going to be called "Hey Diddle Diddle,"
straight up the middle. Yeah. So where I first heard it was, I want to say, it might have been the book World War Z, maybe.
So it's a military term?
Yeah,
okay.
the idea of
that makes me feel a little safer.
You're just going to go headlong into the problem.
Right.
And the idea was during the Battle of Yonkers in World War Z, which World War Z, awesome book.
Terrible movie, awesome book. But in the Battle of Yonkers, it's the first kind of stand-up fight between the American military and the zombie horde. And they use standard military doctrine against the zombies. So they're artillery strikes, they're using rocket barrages and all sorts of stuff, which, are not effective against the undead. I've said that like they should have known. Yeah, they should have known that.
But they're kind of talking about how a lot of the generals that were behind this were the guys that were going to, run the Fulda Gap over in, during the Cold War, which is where it was expected a lot of the Russian armor was going to pour through into Europe. And I'm pretty sure either in that book or they just talk about one of the generals. Yeah, just hey diddle diddle straight up the middle, and that's because that's literally I don't worry about my flanks. I mean, sometimes I have a few tanks that I like playing, and I have a specific play style with them. So I will do flanking maneuvers and things like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a pejorative military term.